Welcome to Magical Books for Kids, a podcast sponsored by Magic Everywhere, Inc., a company based in Florida. Hosted by Michael John Sullivan, this is your place to hear the very best children's stories and an opportunity to get to know your favorite authors. Now, here is Michael John Sullivan.
Welcome to Magical Books for Kids. I'm Michael John Sullivan, and thank you so much for joining us for another free edition of this podcast. We add another podcast every Wednesday on all platforms, and it's free on all platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and our website, magiceverywhereinc.com. We're honored to have a wonderful children's author, an inspiring author. She's a proud Canadian and the mastermind behind the Bentley Hippo book series. Award-winning author Argyro Graphy is acclaimed globally for her thought-provoking books for children. The author remains at the forefront to promote the worth of positive aptitudes among children of all ages, all while instilling the love for reading. She says teaching kids the significance of being inclusive and diverse right from the start can make them caring individuals towards others. Bentley Hippo promotes humbleness among children with an aim to make it second nature from a young age. Her diverse characters have their own challenges: visually impaired, diabetes, autism, ADHD, among others. Her hope is to normalize the characters in the eyes of children so that they can grow up to be more accepting towards people who face these difficulties every day. She encourages children to embrace their differences, celebrate their abilities, and recognize opportunities to spread kindness while fostering a healthy mindset. It is a pleasure to have you, Argyro, here on Magical Books for Kids. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's actually an honor to be here.
Yeah, I had a wonderful experience researching your books and everything, and there seems to be a wonderful inspirational story behind this, how you overcame your challenges and you allowed this wonderful hippo, Bentley, to tell your story in many different ways and in many books. It seems like you're very prolific. I'm kind of jealous at this point, seeing the amount of books that takes me. I struggle all the time. But thank you for allowing us to talk about these wonderful books. What inspired you to create Bentley? How did that come about?
From a young age, I was bullied. I had a little bit of a rough childhood, but I remained quiet. And that's one thing that, I learned later on in life that you should never do. And so as the years went on, I had the self-doubt, I had, the negative inner self-talk, if you will. And I went through life. I excelled in everything that I did, but I wanted to write children's books. And actually, I wanted to illustrate. That was more so because I'm more on the artistic side. And every time I either changed jobs or whatnot, it still popped in the front of my head that I wanted to do something with children's books. And so I kept doodling this little character, not realizing that I was actually doodling the same one over and over. And then through, I guess it was later in life, I started experiencing or witnessing actually, more and more children being bullied. And I thought, this is ridiculous. How many years? And it's getting worse. And a friend of mine, her 6-year-old daughter, when she told me she went to a psychiatrist, it just broke my heart. And I thought, okay, this is time. And how am I going to do this now? I didn't go to school for, literary training or anything like that. So I thought, who is going to believe me and want to purchase my books? So I still had that I was still insecure. And when I looked one day at this little drawing, this sketch that I had, and I kept putting aside, never threw it out, I would smile. And I thought, that's who's going to teach the lessons. It won't be me. So in a way, I'm still hiding behind Bentley, but he is the voice. And I had him tweaked. I don't know how to do digital art. I can sketch and I can draw pencil and whatnot, but not digital. So I had him tweaked and fine-tuned, and voila, he was born.
I've said this to many artists, illustrators, painters. I really admire people who can illustrate, draw their own stories as well as write their own stories. I only write. I wish I could draw, but my little sketches, the best things I could do are stick figures. I do a semi-good Snoopy, but that's from doing it from early childhood. It still looks the same. As a child, I used to draw Snoopy all the time. But that's, I think, a tremendous advantage that you have is that you visually created that particular character, the main character, and then you gave the words to it and everything like that. So you should smile. I would
Yeah,
smile if Bentley is a fun looking hippo to look at. If I had drawn Bentley, I'd be smiling all day long. I'd have a big picture of Bentley up in my room right now.
Oh, I actually am working on, I want to carve a large statue of him.
See,
Now,
that's great. Yeah.
if I get to that, that's a different story, but that's in my head.
Yeah, I would do something like that, or make a big picture of him, like have him so prevalent in your life, because that's your creation. That's
Yeah.
the wonderful thing, about it. I mean, have you thought about putting a plushie behind it, or is there a plushie behind it?
I actually have gone through 6 plushie manufacturers, and they return results that do not look anything like Bentley.
Yeah,
And he's trademarked. So because I want to expand beyond books, and the books were the way to introduce him to the world. Because if you went through products or, and you retailed merchandise with Bentley, unless you liked hippos, you would probably not want to buy it because you don't know who it is. Whereas if I build him first and then I expand, then people will say, okay, I know who that is. And that's kind of where I'm going with it. And yeah, so I created him, and then I created the other 4 characters to go along with him. And I'm very thankful that I have a great illustrator that can put my thoughts and my story on, and bring it to life.
And it's a wonderful character. And as I said, it came through part of the process of being bullied. I think there's a lot of people out there that do listen to the show, including myself doing the show, has had that experience. And it comes in many forms, first of all. It came to me I was on a school bus and I got beaten up all the time. And then later on in years, because I love sports and everything, and I was focused on sports. And I remember I'll never forget the experience. These 2 girls, they were teenagers. I was in teenage years, and they basically embarrassed me publicly, saying, look, he's going to marry a baseball bat, this and that. And they mocked me. And it's something that you don't forget. And
you don't.
And you mentioned when you were silent, right? That was me, silent. I go up to my 3rd floor bedroom, and I'd write poetry. And that's how I started writing and everything. And I think it inspires us also to get something good out of a terrible, uncomfortable, sometimes humiliating situation. So congratulations to you for taking that particular experience and bringing it to life for kids all around the world. And there's many books that you've done, and there's many different issues that you deal with. So let's talk about some of your books. You've done so many. So what is the actual number that you've done so far?
34.
34. Okay. See?
Now,
bravo. I got for that. Yeah.
Now let me just say that they're not all storybooks. I have some positive affirmation books that go along with my characters. I have some gratitude journals. So it's a combination. I have my appreciation journal is available in 8 languages. And it is one of my books that's in schools overseas as well. And it's something that the kids just love. And, there's a very small picture of Bentley inside, but it's that. Now, other people are not allowed to call him Goofy, but I am because he's mine.
Right,
but
exactly.
I look at him and I'm like, he's such a goofball. You just look at him and you just want to laugh. And so the kids, that's one of the comments that they make is when they open up their book and they see that face, it always makes them, smile or laugh, which is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It made me smile. That's when I was looking through all your books and everything online. So, so he's your lovable, goofy
He's my
hippo who's
goofball.
teaching. And I saw a coloring book as well. Now, is that just one coloring book, or do you have other coloring books, or is it part of a package that you could buy?
Yes. So the first coloring book that I have is the ABC book. When I did that book, the ABC actual storybook or learning the alphabet, my illustrator had a family emergency and he kind of abandoned the project. So I had sketches and I didn't know what to do. I thought, I can't go out. I've already released, information that, the book is coming, etc. What am I to do? And a friend of mine said, hang on, I've got an idea. Came across two children that have autism and are hearing impaired. And I made them color. I didn't make them, I offered, and they colored. So my ABC book is colored by two children. And
Wonderful.
I have some comments that, Bentley, two different colors. I don't care. It's who did the book. So for me, I'm honored that they colored the book. They're thrilled that it's their work in my book. And for me, I was really touched when they were so concerned that they might mess them up. And I thought, you can't mess anything up. And they did. I'm surprised. Actually, it was an eye opener for me, is that how they can color within the lines perfectly. I can't even do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, coloring books have become big for adults as well, because it's very therapeutic in that sense.
I have an adult book, which is totally off Bentley. And it's my relaxing therapy. When I had seen somebody and he told me, oh, just color mandalas. And I thought, what, are you crazy? I'm not going to color at my age. And yet he says it's therapeutic. And yet it is. I can look at my drawing, my colored pictures, and I can tell you across 6, 7 of them, I can tell you exactly what mood I was in when I did them.
That's cool. Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So it remains with you. It's a picture for you in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the ABC book, I have the matching coloring book to go with it, so you can get them together. I do have the coloring book as a free download if you sign up on my Bentley's Club, our email list. But I just came out with the Inspiring Children coloring book, which has all 5 of the books in the series. I created a coloring book, so you get all 5 books in one. So that one was just released.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Let's just talk a couple of the books here. You say The Ventures of Bentley Hippo, Inspiring Children to Be Patient. I wish I had that book when I was very younger. I probably could use it today in that sense. But what's inside this this wonderful idea about inspiring children to be patient? Because we all need to be patient somewhere.
So Bentley is visually impaired. Jackson, my little monkey, has ADHD. I have my giraffe, Daisy, who has autism and is hearing impaired. Toby, my little elephant, has diabetes and kidney issues. And Marty, the lion, has alopecia. And so what I did was, at the start of my journey, when I first started writing, I had an eye procedure done and I woke up blind. So it went sour overnight. And so I am legally blind in my left eye. And I saw a shift in how people treated me. And I thought, this is just wrong. And so I decided that I would create characters, or I would give my characters conditions or disabilities, whatever term you're
right.
good with. And so Jackson has ADHD. And the purpose of doing this is not to mock anyone or not to kind of tap into that industry. It is to help normalize these conditions, because people, just like you're told, do not judge a book by its cover. Why doesn't that apply to people with disabilities? Why is it we look at somebody that's either in a wheelchair or they have an eye that's, a lazy eye or whatever, and we jump at there's something wrong with them? why are we prejudging? And so my books, I want the characters and their conditions to be normalized in the eyes of children. And so I'm slowly bringing in the characters and introducing their conditions. Jackson, like I said, has ADHD. In book number 3, that's when all the characters reveal what they have. And I did that on purpose so that children can see that even with these conditions, they went through 2 adventures and they still succeeded. And so this story is about a silly little monkey. He's very curious and mischievous, and he's curious to find out what's at the front of the line, and he just can't sit still. And so he jumps the line quite a few times and gets sent back to the back, and then he causes chaos.
Mhm.
And so that's what, and believe me, I read my book, that one there, quite often.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's one I could certainly read, because I hear from my business partner all the time about being patient. The one book I think is also something that we could all read today, especially with social media, what we see out there. And we mentioned bullying comes in many forms. Bullying could be just somebody posting a picture of somebody in Walmart that doesn't look, it's not dressed
Right.
a way that they think they should be dressed, or whatever, or their hair is not combed a certain way, or whatever. It comes in all sorts of forms. And when people use social media to do it, it has a viral effect, and it has a more of a stinging and profound effect, I think, in that sense. And adults are very guilty of this, from what I can see on these platforms like Facebook and Twitter. I mean, Twitter is just nothing but a bully platform anyway. So The Adventures of Bentley Hippo, inspiring children to be kind. Now, why don't we talk about that particular book? But boy, could we use a dose of kindness in our country? I know you're in Canada, but here in the United States.
In Canada, trust me, in Canada as well, we are, we may be across borders, but
yeah, we all think
we are the same.
The pleasant neighbors up north, and that you guys are always are having hot chocolate, and you're playing with unicorns, things like that. That's the way United States citizens think of Canada, because
Canadian.
Yeah, Canadians. Yeah, that's the way we think of Canadians. Whereas here in the U.S., we think that, geez, we're the bad neighbors in the South for you, with everything going on here. But as I said, we could all use a dose of kindness, especially with the way social media is. So,
Yeah.
What's the thoughts behind that? And obviously, inspiring children to be inspiring children and adults to be kind.
That is the anti-bullying book.
Yeah.
And that is where Toby, my little elephant, who doesn't like conflict and stuff, he is bullied by Marty the lion. And his glasses are taken from him off the bus. See, I could have read your story first and then incorporated it.
Yeah, I remember that. Go ahead. Yes.
And but at the end, spoiler alert, is that Marty becomes the victim. So it is what happens when the bully becomes the victim. You kind of don't like a taste of your own medicine. And Bentley teaches kindness. So, teaches him how to accept other people, that it's not proper. But this book in particular is that Marty was provoked by others. So Marty doesn't have a character of bullying, but it was the pressure of others.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that happens in schools, is that you're pressured. You don't want to be the bad kid. So you're going to do what others tell you, whether you agree to it or not.
Yeah, you want to do what the cool kids do.
Exactly.
That's the way I was always looking at it at that point. I was the smallest kid in the class, so I was the easiest one to push around. But I looked for ways, to do stuff like that, because I wanted to be part of it. I thought that was the rules of the street, so to speak, the rules of the school itself, in that sense. And adults have to step up too. They have to recognize not every. They always say, "Oh, my son or my daughter wouldn't do that." Well, I saw some things in middle school with my daughters and things like that. Middle school was like horrific for one of my daughters, just horrific. She would come home crying all the time, and it's just it's very frustrating, because what are you going to do? They don't want you to do
Right.
anything. They don't want you, obviously, because they don't want to be embarrassed or whatever like that.
Exactly.
So, but a book like this is something, as you said, I like the idea that you want these books to be in the hands of them early on. What do you say to parents and to teachers out there? What's a good age for kids to start reading this particular book?
Well, the funny thing is that I categorize my books for ages 6 to 8, and I have parents and teachers that say no, they have to read them from younger. Obviously, the parents are reading them, and so the youngest are 4 years old. I did a workshop, a live reading actually, and then I followed up with a couple of workshops, and the youngest was 3 years old. And I obviously was a sibling of one of the children that were participating. I looked up when I was doing the reading, and I had 17 children. I thought, wow, this is great, And then going through the book, near about halfway through, 3/4 of the way, I look up and I have 804. It was 800 and something. I think it was 804 total children watching, and I thought, okay, yes.
Wow, wow.
So we did a question and answer period afterwards, and some of the parents and actually a lot of the staff were a part of it, and they were saying that these books should be read at an earlier age because of the message, and especially the bullying book. And that one, because of, like I said, it's not, if it's not direct, or you don't have that kind of attitude of being a bully, it's the pressure of other people that are pushing you to, come on, go ahead, do it, what are you scared, you chicken, and things like that. And when we had the question and answer period, there were kids really young that were asking me, or telling me rather, that it's not fun being picked on. And I thought, wow, it already hit them. And they're, 4 and 5, and, the age group that, but the most popular question in all my readings and workshops is, how did Bentley get his shoes? Which makes me laugh.
That's interesting how they pick out that particular item.
That particular,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because you find that in the characters that we create. We have one book, it's the lizard who loves a blizzard. He's an Australian lizard who's always hoping to snowboard on Christmas Day. And in Australia, Christmas Day is summertime, for them. So there's no chance for him to snowboard. Of course, through the miracle storytelling, it happens. But
send him to Canada.
That's right, kind of the perfect time. Yes, he's going to go to Canada. The lizard who went to Canada, left to Australia for Canada. But everybody asked about his little snow cap, his little blue. It's interesting how people but select something, and it's usually a very common denominator that attracts them to a particular character itself. So it appears.
But you have a plush too.
I do. Yes. We have a little Larry plush that we made and everything. So that's why I asked you about the Bentley Hippo. I'd love to have a Bentley Hippo.
I actually have gone through six manufacturers, and I just can't. I have to get him right. I just can't. I had one that came back, and I thought, what is this? And I thought, he looks like, now when I first drew Bentley, I should say, Bentley wasn't a hippo. I tried to draw the hippo, but as I was doodling, and I even have the sketches, Bentley looked like a cow.
Oh, okay.
And so then I kind of, as I started tweaking him, then I thought, okay, he's got the larger snout versus that vertical or that narrow. And people that are making the prototypes, they just can't get it right. And I'm not being picky. I just need him to be, I need somebody to look at the plush and know that that's Bentley, not a hippo wearing shoes.
Right.
And there's the difference. Yeah.
There's a difference. Yeah. Yeah. And you also have the ABC Empower Me, Inspiring Children's Alphabet book, which I think is great too. So you would have to think that a very young child would be interested in reading that, and the parent would be wanting to have that. So is that a particular book you're finding with a lot of success, people wanting that particular book?
That one is selling in schools in bulk. It's wonderful. Not, we're buying one for the classroom. We're buying schools are buying for each child in, if they have 5, they're buying them from JK even grade ones, they're giving the books to, which is amazing. And I thought, and I don't know whether or not it's, I think it's also because of who Bentley represents and what he represents. I
Mhm.
think that's because there are a lot of ABC books that are great. They're, you know,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so I think they're relating, and Bentley was in the newspaper overseas. I didn't even know. I got a message, and he made the paper, and I was honored and thrilled, and I thought, okay, well, you could have told me first.
Bentley's a star. He's all over. I told you he's global. He went
Yeah,
global. Yeah,
he
that's
is.
a lot.
He is. I actually have customers around the world. Actually, I have Australia, New Zealand, UK is my biggest market, which is surprising.
Wow. How interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
47% of my sales are UK.
Wow. Very nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. I'm also looking too that you have different versions. You have a Serbian edition.
Yes.
You also have uh, multilingual editions. This is fabulous. So,
That's my new series.
okay.
Where I'm starting with the basics. Colors and Shapes is the first book that came out, and each book has 5 languages inside. And my goal is 20 languages per theme, and I've got 10 themes lined up.
Wonderful. Now, it seems to me that being in Canada is also an advantage because they seem to support their Canadian authors well up there. Is that you finding that up there that they support you pretty well, or that these books are getting into Canadian schools and into the hands of children as well where you are? So you say
It
47% is sales over in UK.
is UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm shocked. I don't know. There's no explanation. I just don't,
They like
whether or
hippos.
not
Maybe they like hippos over there.
they probably
Yeah.
love hippos.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have in Africa too. I have, I'm actually working with somebody. We're in the beginning stages. They approached me and asked if I would consider having my books in Africa and doing a little bit of the history of, hippos and whatnot. So it's still at the beginning stages. So who knows what that's gonna, what'll happen there. But I'm open for suggestions as well. And actually, I've had to put one of my Bentley books on hold because I was approached by 2 parents and a teacher if I could write, this is the second time, if I could write a story, a little boy lost his mom. And if I can do it now, they thought I illustrate as well, which I don't, but it was something that I just couldn't say no to. So I did a custom book for this little child. It's being finalized now with illustrations, and I'll present it to him. And it's just something, and the teachers actually got together and they said that they would like to buy for 3 of their classrooms so that everybody has this book. It's on grief and keepsake. Yeah.
So you're getting on-demand orders to write a particular type of book.
Yes, and
wow.
that is where I was, and I'm the type of person, I've got a huge heart.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You're not going to say no, do you? You have a hard time saying no?
I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it, and
that's
I
the
lost
beauty
my
of your
dad.
soul. That's the beauty of your soul. I mean, people always say you got to say no eventually once in a while. I have a hard time too. Whether somebody says that something's wrong or there's a GoFundMe thing going on or everything, it's very hard for me because I know how it is. I was homeless when I came out of college for a couple of months, and I rode the trains at night. So I understand how it is not to have anything.
Right.
So yeah, and when I hear somebody else is going through a struggle, I try to do whatever I can. And you're the same type of person, obviously through your series and everything. So to me, that is the ultimate compliment for any author, is that they love your book so much that they came to you and asked you to write a story for that child.
Twice. And I thought, oh my God, I need to get out my Bentley book. But it's okay, because you know what, Bentley's not going anywhere. Bentley is still, I will still, if I'm a couple of months delayed, or if I'm, 5-6 months delayed, it's not a problem.
But they're also moving your book, and they're going to market your book to those other classrooms and everything. And when those people bring that book home, I always found word of mouth is the most effective way to market. And you have enough
Right.
books out there where you're allowed to market. That's the great part about it. And you're reaching all sorts of wonderful subjects, including inspiring children to share, right? That's another book that you have. And
That was my first book.
that was your first book, to share. Okay, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And how, I always ask authors this: how was the process going from the first book to where you are now? Have you learned a lot in the process, like most of us have?
I'm Greek, and we don't know how to do things small. And so when I wrote my book, my idea, I think I was something like 2,000 words. And I thought, this
Oh,
cannot be a children's book.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
I did the whole story and worked backwards and chopped it up to make a 5-book series. And so even though each book is a standalone book,
Mhm.
the beginning, if you look at all my covers, all of them have a moon in the back. And that's because Bentley has a dream of going to the moon. So I
Okay.
tied it in that way. And so Bentley starts his journey, and the first book is about sharing, where that's when little Jackson, my little silly monkey, he throws bananas, and that's how he thinks that's how you share. And so they become good friends, and then they move on to the next, into the second book, which is inspiring children to be kind. So the story moves on, and Bentley always references the moon. And then finally the last book, so they're kind. And then the third book was a very hard book for me. I wanted to honor a friend that I lost to cancer.
Mhm.
And so I wrote that book, and it's the hardest book for me to market, because it's such a strong emotional attachment to it. And I do get emotional with it. And so it's very hard for me. And that's where I introduced the characters with the disabilities. And then we move into patients. And then finally, it's their chance to go to the moon. Their dream comes true, but the little ticket agent stops them from boarding because they're all different. And so Bentley has to decide. Bentley's allowed to go on the rocket ship, but Bentley has to decide, does he fulfill his dreams, or does he, stand up for his friends?
Wow. Wow, what a decision.
Yes.
And he wants to go to the moon, so I guess he didn't
And
get
he
to the
wants to
moon.
go. Yeah, and so that's how the 5 books. So I worked backwards. I actually had it longer, and I cut it. But yeah, so that's so I'm a little bit different than actually writing a story and and building on it. I write the story, and then I have to cut back.
Well, you're very prolific for sure, and you have all different sorts of materials for parents and children as well, what I love. I love the coloring books as well. You mentioned the 5 books, right? That's the latest one that has come out and everything. Where do people find this particular package? Where can they find this?
So they're available on my website at bentleythehippo.com. And they're also available on Amazon, and online. They're on other retailers as well. So Chapters in Canada, Chapters Indigo, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. Yeah, so they're available.
Right. So the best thing would be to go to was it Bentley the Hippo?
bentleythehippo.com.
Yeah.
Right. And through my website, I can offer the extra products, because I do have watches, and I have, along with book number 3, Bentley gives a little girl who wants to give up. And that's the book that's inspiring children to never give up. He gives her a coin, and it's an inspirational coin that says, "You can do it." And I actually sell that coin, and I don't sell it just with the book. I sell it to people that there's one mom who bought the coin and gave it to her son who's being bullied at school. He carries that coin with him every day, she told me.
Wow. Wow.
And so things like that I don't have on Amazon.
Right. Right.
I have
Yes.
them on my website.
Right. So if you want that particular coin, you have to go to bentleythehippo.com.
Right.
Or for the readers out there. And of course, they just put your name in Google. They will find everything. Yeah, that's what I did. I always do that. I want to test the Google theory. And your name is spelled Argyro, first name, right? Argyro, and it's Graphy. Graphy. And you mentioned something to me before we spoke, before we started recording, in that it means to write.
Yes, in Greek, graphy means to write.
Yeah, I think that's just a wonderful name. It's just,
So
it sort of like shapes who you are, what you're about. Now, is there a book that you would love to write, but you haven't written it yet? Or is there a novel you'd like to write?
I actually had this idea of a fantasy novel. However, I didn't expect Bentley to take off as fast as he did. And now there's demand for Bentley. So in the new year, I have 6 Bentley books lined up.
Oh my Lord. We'll have
I
to have
have
you
my,
back. We're going to have you back now and talk about those books. So
I have my, yes, I have my eco series. So it's about recycling, environment, and all that. I have my baking book that is in the works now. I went through, or actually I had a kindness project that it's a 30-day kindness activity calendar rather, and children signed up. And I thought, you know, if I can get 20 children to sign up, that would be great. So it's 4 projects, kind to each other, kind to animals, kind to the environment, and kind to ourselves. The first project, we just finished the second project. We're going to start the third one. Excuse me. The first project, I had 250 participants. And what they do is they do the 30 days of calendar of events that I planned.
Mhm.
And 2 pictures they have to submit to me, and I convert them into a book. And the children get a book. So their illustrations or their drawings are actually in a book. It's a kindness book. And we donate a book. So to date, we've donated over 1,200 books.
Wow, what a fabulous program that is. I mean, so you,
Yeah.
and they can find all this on your website, bentleythehippo.com.
Right. And then I've had teachers ask if they can purchase the calendars. And I don't have it up for sale yet because I want to get through them first.
Mhm.
And so the first 2 will probably go up in January so that teachers can get them for their classrooms. Now, if teachers want to, and I have had teachers that want to do a class project, then I can do a book just for that class. So it could be specific to that class or to that school. So it'll be, you know, with that school title on it. And it's their kindness. So it's their students that went to their school. So I do that as well. But it takes a lot of work. And I didn't, you know, when you bite off more than you can chew, like I said,
Yes.
I thought if I had 20 kids, 30 kids, it won't take me long to create a book. But having 250 kids, that's a different story.
I was going to say, do you sleep if they're doing
No,
something like that?
no.
I can't imagine doing 20, much less 200. I mean, that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. That's a pretty phenomenal thing to do. And I'm sure each kid was like relishing the whole process of this. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
I'm tired just talking to you, hearing about all this stuff. You know, between the amount of books that you've done, the programs, the 800 kids that were on that event with you talking about, you know, the bullying and everything like that. That's pretty phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
to have that done. So congratulations on all this. I
Thank
only
you.
see Bentley becoming more popular, you know.
Bentley is certainly moving, and actually people ask me, you know, what's next for Bentley, and my response is always, or what are your plans? And my response is always, I don't make plans for Bentley, he makes them for me.
Exactly.
And
You know what? You find that in characters, especially if you ever write a novel, you'll find the characters are actually deciding the story, the plot. They're always,
Yeah.
that's what happens. These characters decide what they do. You'll have to have a plushie though. I think he would look great with the sneakers and everything.
I'm waiting for him to this recent manufacturer. It's due on the 20th of December, the
Okay.
prototype. So I'm kind of, you know,
Okay,
holding
all
my
right.
breath.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so we'll see where that goes. Now, Toby, my little elephant, so you see how they're branching out, is Toby has diabetes. Well, I'm just releasing this week Toby's diabetic blood sugar tracker.
Wow.
Because
Very
if you look,
cool.
yeah, if you look online, all the log books, I mean, it's the same data, information that you collect on the inside, but I've added things to it. There's a note for, ask the doctor so that they can write them so that it's a grab and go book. So you take it to your appointments, you have your appointment schedule, etc. And it's Toby. And so, it's kid friendly, whereas everything else looks so formal and so businesslike. And if you have diabetes and if you have to monitor sugar, it's a scary thing for kids. So
Yes,
we're coming out with that
it
book.
is.
That's the
Yeah.
Healthy Living series.
Yeah, it's scary for adults too, believe me.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Argyro Graphy, I am so honored and so happy to have had you on. And when the next set of books come out, 6, okay, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I better get off my duff here and like start producing more books because I'm being, I was thinking 4 books this year for us, but you're putting out 6, and between the 6 and the 34 particular materials that you have out there, including coloring books, that's a wealth of information. So bentleythehippo.com, listeners, is the place to go and find everything, including that wonderful coin that you may want to give to someone small who's being bullied, or even someone tall, because even adults are being bullied so much because of this social media frenzy that we're in. So congratulations on this wonderful, the wonderful books, the wonderful messages that you're sending. It's much needed today. It's much needed. So thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And I thank you for joining me here.
It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And as I said, we need to have you, once you have those books out, you make sure you reach out to us. And if you have a plushie, please reach out and let us know so we could put the link up, because I want a Bentley plushie.
Plushie,
Yeah.
so do I.
Yeah, I want him. I'll sit him right next to my desk and I can smile all day. Like I do
There
with
you
my
go.
lizard, like I do with Larry the lizard.
There you go.
Hope he doesn't get jealous. You don't think it's the lizard getting jealous at the hippo. So, okay. Well, thank you again. And I want to thank our listeners. Again, this podcast is free on all platforms. It's free on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and magiceverywhereinc.com, which is our website. So thank you again for joining us here on Magical Books for Kids, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you for listening to Magical Books for Kids, a podcast sponsored by Magic Everywhere INC, a company based in Florida, hosted by Michael John Sullivan. This is your place to hear the very best children's stories and an opportunity to get to know your favorite authors. Join us for another fun storytelling podcast next week.